What's up, people? My name's Mex. I'm a wrestling fan, a wrestling enthusiast, a WrestleManiac, if you will. Back with the video of the day, or the audio, depending where you're listening to this. And I'm with my guy, Ola. Ola, what are you saying? You good?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm here.
This is your debut, innit? Debut on the
channel. Yeah, man. Yeah. Happy
nice
to
have you. Nice to have you. And thank you for coming through, bro. Yeah, we're gonna be asking some of the questions that are coming through, or shall I say answering some of the questions that are coming through that's on the lips of a lot of people week to week. So you're gonna see this show, get used to seeing this drop on a Monday on WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel. Might be myself and Ola, might be myself with somebody else, but the key questions that the community wants to know. So make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Without further ado, we're going to jump straight into this one. You guys can see the question. Is Saraya overrated? Saraya that's recently joined AEW. This question was discussed on the Jobber Tears podcast, so big up them. And then, of course, our guy Suplex spoke about this as well. Straight off, without me kind of putting anything into the atmosphere, Ola, what's your answer? What's your thoughts? Is Saraya overrated?
For me personally, I don't really think she is, man. You're talking about someone who's a former Divas champion, like somebody who's basically practically started the women's revolution. No, like that's a big thing. And we look at the people that came out. That we got women like Charlotte, Sasha, Becky, Bailey, and Paige was
keep going.
Say that Paige was obviously the catalyst for that. And we're looking at AEW's women's division. We've always said, like, you know, they need help. Who better to have than somebody like Paige, who was, you know, the catalyst for the women's revolution? So, is she overrated? For me personally, I don't think so, man. I don't think so.
All right, let's break it down a bit more. Is she, okay, as a wrestler, as a talent, do you think she is good enough, makes the grade, very good, overrated? What do you think about her actual wrestling ability?
Her actual wrestling ability? Okay, for me, I'll be honest, I don't, like, when you talk about Paige matches, the only matches that ever really come to mind for me are the AJ Lee matches. So for me, if you're gonna be this great wrestler, I think your matches need to be memorable. And for me, I don't have a lot of matches of Paige where I can say, you know, they've been memorable. I think she's a good wrestler, but I don't know, overrated.
I mean, I would agree that she's a good wrestler. I think at the time when she was putting on quote unquote bangers, the standard was lower. The bar was lower for women's wrestling.
Yes.
Now, if you're looking at, you know, who she could wrestle today or the wrestlers of today and some of the recent matches, maybe she can't necessarily do what, hang. It'll be very interesting to see when she does get back in the ring, if she gets back in the ring. But we'll get to that. So, what about as a character? Like, how have you ever found her character? Is the character overrated? People maybe giving her too much credit, or whatever the case may be.
Her character, obviously, I don't really think there was even much there necessarily to begin with. Like, I think it almost feels like Paige is just being herself. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think there's really much to go off in terms of her character, but I thought the character was okay. It was, like I said, like, for you to be the catalyst in terms of the women's revolution, there needs to be something special there. So for the time that it happened, I think the character was probably quite good. Like I said, it did what it needed to do.
Again, I think at a time when, you know, everyone was a diva, she was the anti-diva.
It was different.
Something different, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's what a lot of people liked about her, just the fact she was different. She wasn't blonde, or, you know, the kind of the look that Vince McMahon liked in a female competitor. She was completely different to that. So she stood out. Today, again, you don't necessarily have to be that tall, strapping blonde to make an impact in wrestling. You can look different, whatever the case is. So, yeah, I think it's harsh when people say she's overrated.
Exactly.
But she's played her part in history, that's for sure. But I guess now we're looking at current day and how much she can really offer today, which brings us to her joining AEW. And that first, obviously she joined and then the week after she cut that first promo, right? And people had something to say about that promo, like she had the jitters and it wasn't the best of delivery and this, that, and the other. And the line back to Britt Baker about your name rhymes with shit. Tell me your thoughts, bro. What was your thoughts about that first promo and how much you remember of it and stuff?
Okay, cool. So, I was watching AEW live that day, isn't it? And obviously I see Paige and I'm like, okay, cool, we're gonna get something good. Now, the promo I was expecting is not the promo I got. Her saying, I think she said it was her house, no? She said it was her house.
Yeah, she said, this is my house now. Yeah.
That's all fine. But then it just seemed like there was quite a few tangents here and there, things that didn't need to be said, like looking for the cheap pop with the,
Yeah,
it didn't hit me. It didn't move me as much as I wanted it to. I wanted it to be a big deal, like this is a big promo. But I think certain things took away from it, man. Certain things she was saying were not. It weren't it, bro.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I think the delivery was definitely like, it's my first day back on the job, so I kind of do give her that leeway as well.
Exactly.
She was just kind of finding her feet again after years of maybe not cutting a promo in front of thousands of people on TV. So I'll allow her, but at the same time, it wasn't really what I thought I was gonna get. I thought I still expected Saraya on that day to deliver a mad promo, like do I dare say Punk-esque, but like just something to really leave us with like, we're moving in the right direction here. With this division. With obviously what we've seen of her, we didn't see her this past week on Dynamite, but the 2 previous weeks. Are you encouraged? I know there's been a lot said about the women's division. Are you encouraged by has any difference been made to you? Do you see things moving in a positive direction or even a negative direction for the division as a whole?
I'll be honest, I haven't seen much movement in terms of the women's division. I feel like I am more invested, but there's not been much that has changed.
Okay.
I feel like there's something that you said that I'm going to bring to light now, where you said if Paige is to affect this division, she needs to be given the pen.
That's what I believe, yeah.
I think that's self-explanatory. Like, there's not really anything else to add to that.
It shocks me somewhat that it shocks me and it doesn't, but it shocks me somewhat that Paige has come to somewhere where she basically has to make the women's revolution happen again. Rather than going to somewhere where the women's wrestling is already respected and has made its mark, sort of thing. But maybe she wants to be that change, which is, there's nothing wrong with, wanting to be, the Mother Teresa or whatever, whoever you want to call on in the situation. There's nothing wrong with that. But it just makes me feel like she's literally played her part doing this exact same thing somewhere else. So maybe she thinks she's the correct person to do it over here. The one thing I would say of how things have been framed so far is that now all of a sudden, I know we keep calling her Paige, I think, but yeah, Saraya is the Saraya is the biggest thing in this women's division now. So there's a champion that's in her shadows immediately. Toni Storm has been in her shadow since she turned up, and that's not great. What Saraya should be doing is using her star power to make Toni. Exactly, to elevate Toni, to elevate the other women, which she's going to do with Britt and that whole story once she gets into that. But like, the champion for sure shouldn't be hiding behind your newest acquisition. And I think we've somewhat seen this before when we had Punk and MJF, and Hangman was champion, and Hangman was a really good champion, but he wasn't put in the center. He was behind what was a great feud.
Yeah.
So there's positives of change that is coming, I would say, but then there's also negatives of, you know, is she really putting these people over? Not by any of her fault. It's just her star power needs to be used in such a way where she is still a main attraction, but not taken away from, especially someone holding a title.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how they manage that. But I think in general, it's good to see her back on our screens. Now, the whole point of, you know, the whole hula la of her coming back was the fact she was injured, told to retire, neck injury. She was finished, done out here, and apparently she has been cleared by AEW doctor Michael Sampson. What's your initial thoughts on, you know, the comeback from a neck injury in Saraya's case? Obviously, we've seen this in wrestling before, but do you think that her being cleared is genuine? Have AEW done their due diligence? Should she come back from such a serious injury?
Next year.
Yeah.
AEW need to be very, very, very careful with her. I can't lie to you. And she needs to also be very careful. Because I'll be honest, I'm very happy she's come back, you know, especially if we're going to get to see her in the ring, because I think that's the whole point of the comeback. Otherwise, what are you really doing here? But I'm just scared that I don't think she's really cleared like that. I feel like they've done the bare minimum and been like, you know what, you can wrestle here. And that for me, that scares me. Because it could only take one wrong move. Like, we've seen it when Brian's come back and, you know, he's hurt himself, or Edge has come back and he's hurt himself. I don't know if Saraya can do that. I think if something bad happens, God forbid, we're gonna see something really, really bad in terms of AEW. I don't want to be negative, but
it's bad press. Yeah, it's possibly bad press.
I'm scared.
WWE generally they have their own internal doctor. They then have their, I think the one that's in Birmingham, Alabama, or someone else. They have two doctors that would have given the all clear. If AEW's one doctor has said, yeah, she's clear to wrestle, and they may have done this obviously to sign her. It's pretty much like Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan said, well, if you're not going to clear me, I'm leaving, sort of thing. They cleared him. He re-signed, stayed a couple more years at WWE before, now obviously leaving for AEW. So there's clearly a desperation to still wrestle, which I guess you admire to a certain degree, but it's their safety, man. If, like you said, and I think that's the point, if something goes wrong, and we've seen AEW have had a hard year, man, in terms of press. The product is still really good, but in terms of press, they've had a really bad year. And if something goes wrong, this is on them.
The thing is, yeah, I don't know why. Obviously, in wrestling, mistakes happen. We get botches, we get things, like, no one's perfect. I feel like in WWE, she might not get the botches that she'll get in AEW. And what I mean by that is, we've seen AEW superstars have really bad slip-ups in the ring. Example, Ruby Riott, where she bent her neck like that. Now, I know that's not everyone, but if that happens to someone like Saraya,
Finish. Locked up.
Bro,
Yeah,
it's over.
Done out here. But she's you know, saying that things are in a good place. She recently was on the Talk is Jericho podcast. The Jericho asked her how she felt about her neck. And Saraya had to say, it's good. Yeah, I feel really healthy. My neck feels fantastic. I would definitely want to take it slower this time around. You know, if there was physicality and stuff like that, I just want to really take care of my body, because as much as I want to rush into things, all these different matches, I know what happened last time. So I just want to take it as slow as possible. And I think it goes without saying, like, she's not going to be wrestling every week. Like, she's been on TV twice this week. The second week, she had a bit of physicality with Britt Baker. She wasn't on TV this past week. I think the rumor is that she will have a match with Britt Baker come Full Gear, and that might be her one match this year. And then maybe next year, it's only the pay-per-views she wrestles at, which makes it 4 times a year, whatever the case is, and feels more special. It's just, you hope the best in it, and that nothing goes wrong.
Literally, that's what it is, man. Yeah. I'm happy for her. I'm just worried. That's all.
Nah, I hear that. And anyone as a fan would be worried of just anyone, because these people that they're putting on for our entertainment. Ultimately, when she got injured last time, it was a dark match. WWE, it wasn't even televised, and you put yourself through something there, and then that's it. Your career's over, I guess, until now. So, yeah, man, we will see. But just before we finished off here, we were talking earlier about choosing to make the return to AEW rather than WWE, the place where she had made the change and was already a big name. She's recently confirmed that Triple H did reach out to her. Again, this is coming from her interview with Jericho on the Talk is Jericho podcast. Saraya said that Hunter did reach out to me and he wanted to talk to me. He thought it was my decision to leave because he wasn't there at the time. He thought it was my decision to leave. No, bro, she laughed. It was Vince McMahon and Johnny Laurinaitis. And we got talking, but then I sat down and talked to you guys, I guess, in terms of Jericho and them. And she was like, I miss that side of wrestling where you can pitch your own ideas and you can just have fun. I haven't felt excited about wrestling in a very long time. So the first day of being here, it was awesome. Everyone is so nice and it's crazy just how different it can feel. She goes on to say that she spoke to Jericho, obviously, she spoke to Moxley, and she spoke to Britt Baker. And then when she spoke to Tony Khan, that she felt really excited and signed the thing. Joined AEW. Do you think joining AEW over WWE, a return to WWE, was the right thing for her?
I don't want to be rude, yeah. But I feel like if she did come back to WWE, I don't really see where she would fit. I also think that in terms of like star power, I think there'll be the return buzz for a month or two. She'll have her match. Great. After that, I think that's where it stops for me. I think that's where it would stop for a lot of people, because I just feel like I don't know if she has the minerals to keep up with like a Sasha or a Charlotte or a Becky or Bailey, even Bianca. Like, things have changed a lot. I just think that there would be a lot of return tax, man. So I think her going to AEW is definitely a good choice. I think it's the right one for her. And yeah, the only thing I would say is maybe not to heap the pressure on yourself to change AEW's women's division.
Yeah.
Because it will overshadow a lot of what she does. And maybe it's us as fans. Maybe we're the ones that are projecting this. You know what? She saved the women in WWE, so she's going to save them in AEW as well. Maybe it's us doing that. But yeah, man, I think her joining AEW is definitely the right choice for her.
I hadn't personally thought about it myself, to answer that question myself, but you raise a very good point. I think just the caliber of talent, in-ring talent anyway, has moved on since her time. We mentioned that at the top of this. And then I think she could still be a great character for WWE, but with WWE, there's still a lot more in terms of dates, SmackDown and Raw, house shows. Like, there's no way she would be able to not be in the ring more frequently. I don't think she could get away with that so much at WWE. Whereas AEW, yeah, she can kind of be this mother hen figure over the women's division. Maybe she's got some responsibilities in the back to help and booking. We don't know. But yeah, I think that's probably a place for her where she can be a big character, help these other ladies along, which, generally speaking, the experience level of the women in AEW over WWE is less. So she can definitely kind of mentor / coach them in that way. I think it for me, the only thing that struggles to me is like, you complained about women's wrestling and now you went to somewhere where women's wrestling is nonsense. That's the only thing I can't really get my head around. But I understand if she feels that she's the person to change it, like she did in WWE, or contribute to the change at least, then it makes sense. But yeah, like all the best to her and her career, and helping to make the change. It's a change I definitely want to see. I'm sick of speaking to people about how poor the women's division is in AEW. I think in the last couple of weeks we've seen longer matches, which is good. At least. They're kind of throwing them all into one segment, which is neither here or there, but at least they're keeping the women busy somewhat. It's how they're gonna build her match to face Britt Baker at Full Gear, which is what looks to be the plan. WWE money would have been sweet, I'm sure. But
got money raw, man.
Yeah. That's it. She's not going to take coins at AEW. Like, of course they're gonna look after her as well. She's the biggest thing in that division. So, and she's, like we say, she's pretty much probably going to be on a part-time contract, I'm guessing. So, in terms of wrestling and stuff. So, yeah, man, like, all the best to her. Any last words for Paige Saraya and her being overrated and just her returning to wrestling?
I think I'm just going to go back to the last question again. I think this not only just benefits Saraya, this also benefits AEW. Like, we look at the women like Jamie Hayter. Obviously, I'm not too clued up on AEW's women's division. I know they've got a lot of young talent. They could do with that nurturing of Paige. Like, they could do with her coming in and elevating people. And again, I don't want to contradict myself, because I say to myself, I don't want Paige to put that pressure of the women's revolution on her shoulders, having to do part 2. But at the end of the day, her going there, I just think, like, there's room for her to like help these women and elevate them. But yeah, man,
listen, it's pressure. You're correct. It's pressure she shouldn't put on herself. But at the same time, I think that's just the nature of the business. Like, you give back in it, and it sounds absolutely mad. I was saying this on the Wrestling podcast the other day. Like, she is still one of the youngest. Like, I think Paige has just turned. Saraya has just turned like 30. Like, she is younger than a lot of like the Toni Storms and all of these women she's in the ring with that we now expect her to nurture. She is younger than a lot of them. So it's big shoes she has to fill, and of course at the same time of trying to do that job and cultivate that division, she's got to look after herself, make sure she's traveling well, that she can sleep well at night and not twist up your neck on some coach or whatever it is. Like, you have to look after yourself, man. But it's an interesting discussion that I wanted us to chime in on. So I appreciate you coming for this, bro. Obviously you have your own YouTube channel. Please plug that for us.
So obviously I do a show on a 2K, on WWE 2K. I run a show. You can find it at Honor Fight on Twitter, and you can find it on Ollers Gaming or CWH. If you just type in CWH, it should come up. So yeah.
Cool, good stuff, guys. I'm gonna put the link for that in the chat, so you guys make sure to subscribe to the channel and tune in for that. Cool. We will be back next week with another conversation. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, do all of that good stuff. Make sure you subscribe to Ollers channel as well.